Hey you guys, welcome back. Today we're going to go over solving for a missing angle. Before we do that though, fact number 62 about me. I've had a lot of jobs in my life before becoming a teacher, and one job that I absolutely hated was working for this company right here. This is the logo. It's called DirecTV, all right? Now, a lot of you guys probably don't even know what cable TV is because so many people have canceled their cable TV subscriptions and just have Netflix or Hulu or Max or whatever streaming app you have. But before we had all these choices for streaming, we had to have cable. That was how you watch TV. And cable was where you had a ton of channels and everything was programmed at a certain time this TV show or this movie was airing. And if you wanted to watch it, you had to go and watch it at that time on that channel. It's so different now when everything is on demand. You can watch anything you want, anytime you want. So I worked for this DirecTV company, and what I did, I worked at the call center that they had. And if you don't know anything about a call center, it is where you have like 1,000 people, at least it was here when I worked there at DirecTV, and everybody just answers phone calls all day. And the department I was in, we just worked for the billing department, so people would call in and complain that their bill was too high or that they got charged an incorrect amount or something. So all day long for, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 months, I just heard people complain about their DirecTV bill. And you know what's really hard is just hearing people on the phone and never being able to make eye contact with them, never seeing them face to face or in person. It really wears you out. It kind of made me realize how much I love to be able to be with people in person and talk to them face to face and be able to make eye contact. Those are things I had taken for granted before. But after working at a call center and not having that option, it drove me crazy. So at DirecTV, that's what I did. I just heard people complain about their bill for like 4 or 5 months. It was really, really exhausting. So after that, I went and worked at Olive Garden, which is one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. I love being a waiter. I got to be with people all day long. I got to see them face to face and make eye contact. It was such a difference. It was great. All right. So anyway, one of the jobs I've hated most is working for DirecTV. I'm so grateful we have things like Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that. Number one, because it's a little cheaper. And number two, if you don't like the bill, go and cancel it, right? There's nothing really you can do. DirecTV had so many options and so many different packages for channel subscriptions. It was crazy. There was a lot of choices you could make. So anyway, regardless, it was one of my least favorite jobs, and I'm so glad that I don't do it anymore. This is way better. So anyway, let's get back to the math. So we did these problems today, and we're going to go through them, okay? So complementary angles, let's give a quick recap of what complementary angles are. Complementary angles have a sum of 90 degrees. Supplementary angles, on the other hand, have a sum of 180 degrees. All right, so let's go through these. Now, we have to go and solve for the missing angle. And what's really important is that we have to be able to write an equation to match because it's going to get harder. All right, so let's look at this one. These are supplementary angles. I know because they're on a straight line. All right, and we've just split that line into two. So these two angles have to add up to give us 180 degrees. So watch how we're going to do that. 118 plus A. That's literally the definition of supplementary. We add the two angles. I have 118 and A. I'm going to add them up, and I'm going to set it equal to 180. All right? It's the definition of supplementary angles. One angle plus the other, which is what we have right here, equals 180. So I'm going to go and solve this like any other equation. I'm going to subtract 118 from both sides. And then A is equal to 180 minus 18, which is 62 degrees. Let's look at the next one. Now, these are not supplementary because this is a right angle. That's 90 degrees. So these are complementary angles. I'm going to abbreviate COMP, okay? So it looks like we split that 90-degree angle into two smaller angles. So complementary angles are where we have two angles that add to 90. Watch what we're going to do. 60 plus A, which is just the definition of complementary angles, equals 90 degrees. Perfect. Now I'm going to go and subtract 60 from both sides because this is just a one-step equation we've been doing since like September. So A is equal to 30. So this angle measurement is 30 degrees. And this one over here was 62. And if you're ever not sure if you got the right answer, whenever you go and add these up, you should either get 180 or 90. Here, they're supplementary, so we should add them up and get 180. And 118 plus 62. Yep, those give me 180. Over here, these are complementary. They should add up to give me 90. 60 plus 30. Yep, they give me 90. So they're right. Let's look down here at number 10. So this is another right angle, which means these are complementary. I'm going to add these two smaller angles up, and I'm going to get 90 degrees. So 42 is the first angle, plus A, and I'm going to set them equal to 90. All right? Now, this is just a one-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides, minus 42, and A is equal to 48 degrees. So double check your work. Make sure whatever you find here can add to the other one and give us that 90 degrees or that 180 that we're looking for. So 48 plus 42, yep, it gives us that 90 degree we're looking for. Let's look at this one. Same idea. Now, these are complementary angles because they're a right angle. They have to add to give us 90 degrees. So I'm going to say 50 plus 8a. Whatever is here, I'll put here. Whatever is here, I'll put here. All I've done is put a plus sign in between them. That's the only thing I've done. 50 plus 8a. I'm going to set them equal to 90 because these are complementary angles. So now, let's go and solve. I'm going to subtract 50 on both sides. 8a, whoops, 8a is equal to 40. Oh my gosh, 8a. There we go. I'm going to go and divide both sides by 8. And a is equal to 5. But wait, if I went and said this is 5 degrees, 50 plus 5, that gives me 55 degrees, not 90. This is where it gets really important that we have to solve for the variable first. We found it to be a. And then I'm going to go and substitute that into my angles. So every time I have the variable a, I'm going to go and replace it with a 5. So 8, instead of an a, I'm going to write a 5. And I'm going to use parentheses because that'll remind me to multiply. Whenever a coefficient, 8, is next to a variable, a, we multiply. There's multiplication going on in between those, even though there's no symbol telling us, okay? So 8 times 5 gives me 40. And now let's go double check that I did it correctly. 40 plus 50, does that add up to 90? Yeah, sure does. I did it correctly. All right, let's give that an erase. And we're going to scroll down. Let's look at these two. All right, let's look at number 5. So number 5 is a right angle. There it is. So these are complementary. So these two angles must add up to give us 90. I'm going to go ahead and set it equal to 90. All right. Now, whatever is here, whatever this angle measurement is, whatever we've told you it is, I'm going to put that up here. All right. So this is P plus 2. All right. This one is 67. And all I'm going to do is add a plus sign in between them. All right. Because the definition of complementary angles is two angles added together to give us 90. Now this, let me erase that line because it kind of looks like a division line. I didn't mean it to. There we go. So now this, we can't just go and start subtracting stuff. We're going to go and combine like terms. That's where that skill comes back again. So I'm going to go and combine like terms. 2 and 67, those are like terms. All right. So that gives me 69. I'll bring down everything else I have left. P plus equals 90. So all I did was combine 2 and 67. So now this is just a one-step equation. We've been doing it for a long time. Subtract 69 on both sides, minus 69. P is equal to 21. Now, P is not 20. This angle measurement is not 21 degrees because that'd be 21 plus 67. That doesn't give you 90. Instead, every time I see this variable, I'm going to go and replace it with the 21 that I found it to be. So P plus 2 is really 21 plus 2, which is 23. Now let's double check. 23 degrees plus 67, does that give me 90? Yeah, it does. So I did it right. Let's look over here. Same thing. These are not complementary. These are supplementary. That's because there's a straight line here. So whatever is on that straight line, these have to add up to give me 180. So I'm going to go and set my equation equal to 180. Now, whatever I have written over here for each angle measure, I'm just going to go and add them together. I'm going to keep it the exact same. Essentially, all I'm going to do is put a plus sign in between them. So 63 is the first thing I have, plus 7t plus 5. 7t plus 5. I'm going to use a little curve under this t just so I remember it's a variable and not a plus sign. So now let's go through and combine like terms. 63 and 5, those are like terms. Remember, like terms are just anything with the same variable or constants. These are two constants. They have no variable attached. They're just numbers by themselves. All right. So 63 plus 5 gives us 68. And now I'm just going to bring down everything else I have left. Plus 7t is still left. Equals 180 is still left. So now I'm going to go through and solve this. I'm going to eliminate the constant first. I'll subtract 68 on both sides. I'm left with 7t equals 180 minus 68. That's 112. I'll divide both sides by 7. And that variable t is equal to, let me grab my calculator. I don't know that off the top of my head. 112 divided by 7 gives us 16. So t is equal to 16. But that's just what the variable is. That's not the measure of the angle. So every time I see a t, I'm going to go and substitute it with a 16. So 7t plus 5 is now going to be 7 times 16. That's a 16 plus 5. So let's go and plug that in the calculator. 7 times 16 plus 5. I can do the whole thing in the calculator because it already has the order of operations worked in. And that gives me 117. So let's go and double check our work. If I did it correctly, these two angles, 63 and 117, should add up to give me 180. And they do. I did it right. Let's look at the next one. Let's identify the type of angles. These are supplementary because they're on a straight line. If they were complementary, it would have been a right angle. All right? These are supplementary. There's that straight angle here. So I'm going to go and set up my equation. Supplementary are angles that add up to 180. So I'm going to go ahead and say equal 180. Now, whatever I have over here, I'm going to write it exactly up here. All I'm doing is keeping these angle measurements that I've told you they are, adding a plus sign in between. So 67 is our first one. 67 plus. I'm going to write this one exactly as is. And yeah, it has a minus sign. I'm going to keep that there. 6a minus 1. Exactly as written. So now I'm going to go and combine like terms because I'm trying to get a by itself. All right? Let's go and combine like terms. 67 and negative 1. Remember, that minus 1, if we're subtracting, it's like a negative. So 67 minus 1 gives us 66. Plus 6a, I'll bring down everything else I have left, equals 180. Now we can just go and solve this like any other two-step equation. I'll eliminate the constant by subtracting 66 on both sides. 6a is equal to 180 minus 66. Gives us 114. Then I'll go and divide both sides by 6. Oops. So a is equal to 114 divided by 6. Gives me 19. So I found the variable, and it's 19. But I'm not done. I have to go and substitute that variable in every time I see it. So 6a minus 1, I'm going to rewrite that as 6 times 19, because a is 19, minus 1. Let me go put that in my calculator. 6 times 19 minus 1 gives us 113. And if I did it correctly, 113 plus 67 should add up to 180. And they do. I did it right. All right, let's look at the last one right here. Now this looks a little different, but the same thing still applies. These are complementary angles. I know because there's a right angle here. So I'm going to go and set them equal to 90 because complementary adds up to give me 90. Whatever I have here, 2q minus 3, I'm going to put it there. And then I'm essentially just going to add a plus sign in between these. Plus 5q plus 2. Now, let's go through and combine like terms. 2q and 5q, that gives me 7q. Negative 3, because we're subtracting 3, and positive 2, that gives me negative 1. So 7q minus 1 equals 90. Now, let's go and eliminate the constant. Add 1 to both sides. 7q is equal to 91. Whoops, there we go. Divide both sides by 7, and q is equal to 13. I think. Let me double check. 91 divided by 7. Perfect. All right, now let's go through and go and substitute that q back into our problem. So every time I see a q, I'm going to go and replace it with a 13. So 2 times 13 minus 3. 2 times 13 is 26 minus 3 is 23. So this one's 23 degrees. And this one, 5 times 13 plus 2. 5 times 13 plus 2 gives me 67. And if I did it correctly, those should add up to 90, the 67 degrees and the 23. And they do. So I did it correctly. All right. So again, complementary adds to 90. We'll set the equation equal to 90. Supplementary, however, adds to 180. So we'll set the equation equal to 180. And then we just get to use all of our equation solving skills that we've been doing since like September. All right. So thank you guys for sticking around for the whole video. I always appreciate it. And I will see you guys in class tomorrow.